2013, a 6-year-old child was killed in an injection accident when the grandmother had a no-fault accident because she had a seizure behind the wheel and crashed and rolled over her vehicle. That reason is one of the reasons I chose to talk about child restraint laws today. My name is James Apple. I've been in law enforcement for 2 years and been in first response for 6 years. Child restraints are widely misused in the state of Mississippi, and often not at all. Modern child restraint laws are in place for a reason, and that reason is to save children. There are kind of three main things that are important to know about child restraint laws and why you should use them. There's a need for car seats, there's the reasons behind the law, and there's also the penalties. Because if the two carrots don't get you, the stick will. Car seats exist for a reason, and those reasons are injury reduction. In infants, there's an 80% reduction risk in reduction. There's a 45% in booster seats, and there's a 50% in just the shoulder belt. Now those risk reductions represent different age groups. The 80% is in use of full car seats for appropriate age children. Now, that 80% injury risk reduction attaches to proper use of car seats. Now, just because you have a car seat doesn't mean you're properly using them. You have to have the kid in the car seat the proper way with the straps in the right spot. It does you no good to put your infant in a car seat if you're not going to strap them up right. Same thing with the booster seat and the shoulder belt use. Just because you have a teenager a 13-year-old who's wearing their lap belt doesn't mean they don't need to wear their shoulder belt. There's a reason they're both of those in place. It's because if you just have a lap belt on, you're going to have way too much damage in the center of your chest because your shoulder belt is designed to catch and stop that damage where you have more bone area instead of soft organs. Same thing with the booster seat. The reason booster seats exist is to raise the child where the lap belt and the shoulder belt are in the appropriate place to catch that child. When you have toddlers, you have school-age children, you have the possibility of that child slipping out if they're not in a booster seat because the shoulder belt doesn't catch them because it's too high on their body. The reasons for the law's existence is because parents continue failure to use car seats appropriately. Those include that failure to comply with car seats in their existence has caused ejection issues, it's caused serious non-ejection injury issues in a lot of children. It also has caused children not to be safe. The reason we have these laws is to keep children safe and to prevent ejection, like what happened in the 6-year-old in 2013, but also to prevent serious non-ejection injury. Ejection injury is where the child is thrown from the vehicle. The window doesn't have to be open, they can go through glass, it's happened. A lot of times it does happen when windows are open. But when you have a child that's unrestrained or not restrained properly, they are oftentimes thrown from their seat. And when they are thrown from their seat, they're either ejected, which typically is a fatal injury, or you have serious non-ejection injuries. When you have serious non-ejection injuries, what that looks like is, say you've got a 6-year-old in the back seat who's wearing the wrong seatbelt, but they don't go through the windshield, they just hit the windshield. Well, on their way to the windshield, you have 2 front seats that they pass, and you have drivers, and you have other things going on in that motor vehicle accident. Oftentimes, airbag deployment, other things. Your steering wheel is hard, your dashboard's hard, there's a mirror in the way. There's a lot of stuff that they can hit or hit themselves, such as other restrained passengers and drivers. That's a serious non-ejection injury. All that being said, keep kids safe by having them in car seats and the appropriate car seats. The penalties are the stick. It's the way the government has decided to enforce these laws. Because if you don't want to keep kids safe, the government will make sure you do. There are strict rules. It is an arrestable offense, and there are financial penalties. In the state of Mississippi, there is a $25 minimum penalty that is enforced statewide for child restraint. Each individual municipality has the option to increase it. Here in Starkville, they've added $67 to it. That makes your total fine $92. If your total fine is $92, that's $100 more or less per child. Say you've got 3 kids in the back seat, you're talking about $300. That gets really expensive really fast. It's easier just to put your kids in a car seat. It is an arrestable offense. The adult seatbelt law is not an arrestable offense, but the child seatbelt is. If you are arrested on seatbelt violation for child restraint, your kids do go to DHS most of the time, unless the officer has pity. Most of the time, your officer's not going to have pity because it's considered neglect not to have your children in the correct car seats. At that same time, talking about officer choice, most officers, it's one of the hardest things we see is child fatality wrecks. We don't want to see it, so we are incredibly strict on this rule. It is not a ticket that the officer is going to look the other way on. The officer is going to be serious, and you're going to get that ticket. And if he chooses not to arrest you, he chooses not to arrest you. But you can almost count that every time you get pulled over and your child's not in the right car seat, you're going to get a ticket for it. All this being said, there's a reason there's a need for car seats, and there's a reason there's a need for the law. Is because people choose not to follow it. You've got to make sure you follow the laws because they're there to reduce risk for children. Children don't have a choice to be buckled up. It is your responsibility as a parent, as a responsible adult, to make sure the child's in the right seat and that it is used properly. And if you don't want to do that, well, guess what? The state will make sure you do it with the penalties. The state chooses to fine people and chooses to make an option for arrest. Make sure to use car seats appropriately. Car seats appropriate, when used appropriately, save children's lives, and failure to do so can kill children. Thank you all.